Final update. At my son's graduation, my parents told me I had to give his college fund to my nephew instead. My husband laughed and said, "That's funny, because we moved the money last month." They started screaming when they saw. Part 2. The judge sighed. Then this is irrelevant. Moving on, but then my mother pulled out her biggest trick yet. She reached into her bag and placed a USB drive on the table. "This," she announced dramatically, "is a recording of my daughter admitting that the money belonged to the family." Dan went still, so did I. "What recording?" The judge raised an eyebrow. "Where and when was this recorded?" My mother smiled sweetly. "At our family dinner last year, before she turned on us." My stomach dropped. That dinner, the one where my parents had been extra sweet, where they had talked about helping family and making sure everyone had a future. Oh my God, they had recorded me. The judge gestured for the bailiff to play the recording, and I almost burst out laughing because it was edited to hell. It started mid-sentence, cutting off whatever context came before. My voice said, "Of course, we'll always help family. That money is for our future." It cut off right there, just that one out of context line. Dan exhaled, his lips twitching like he was holding back the biggest laugh of his life. The judge looked unimpressed. "Mrs. Last name, do you have the full recording?" My mother blinked. This is the important part. There was silence, then my mother's face twisted. I don't have it with me." The judge turned to our lawyer. "Do you have a response?" Susan stood. "Yes, Your Honor. First, the fact that they secretly recorded my client should be enough to question their credibility. Second, this evidence is obviously altered. We request the full, unedited version before considering its validity." The judge nodded. "I agree." He turned back to my parents. "You'll need to provide the full recording or withdraw this as evidence." My mother's face turned purple. My father looked like he had eaten a lemon. They had nothing. And that's when I knew this wasn't about money anymore. This was about control. The unexpected visitor. We left the courthouse feeling good for the first time. I thought maybe this was almost over. Then that night, I heard a knock on our door. It was my brother, alone. I hesitated before opening it. "What do you want?" He shoved his hands into his pockets, looking nervous. "Can I come in?" Dan stepped beside me. "No." My brother's eyes looked pleading. "Look, I need to talk." I crossed my arms. "Then talk." He exhaled. "Mom and Dad are losing it. They really thought they could win, but now they're scared. They're talking about doing something drastic." I narrowed my eyes. "What does that mean?" He glanced around, lowering his voice. "They're talking about going after Alex's future earnings." The blood drained from my face. "What? They think if they can't get the college fund, they can find a way to take a cut of whatever he makes once he starts working?" Dan burst out laughing. I couldn't. My brother looked miserable. "I swear, I told them it was insane, but they're desperate. They've got some scheme with a financial planner friend who thinks there's a legal loophole." I held up a hand. "You're telling me they're planning to sue our son for money he hasn't even made yet?" He winced. "Basically, yeah." Dan stopped laughing. "Oh, they've lost it." I turned to my brother. "And why are you telling us this?" He hesitated. "Because I need you to make them stop." I barked out a laugh. "You want me to fix your mess?" "They're going to ruin themselves if they do this," he hissed. "You need to do something before it gets worse." I stared at him, at his desperate face, and then it hit me. He wasn't just here to warn us, he was scared they'd take him down with them. I crossed my arms. "Not my problem." His face twisted. "Come on." Dan stepped forward. "No. You chose your side when you sat with them in court. Now you deal with it." My brother exhaled through his nose, fists clenched. "Fine. But don't say I didn't warn you." He turned and walked away. Dan watched him go, shaking his head. "This just keeps getting dumber." I closed my eyes, my mind racing, because I knew one thing for certain. This wasn't over, not even close. The breaking point. The next few weeks were hell. My parents kept pushing the lawsuit, but their arguments were crumbling. Their lawyer looked more miserable every time we went to court. Our attorney, Susan, barely even had to try anymore. Every claim they made was shredded within minutes. But that didn't stop them. They filed appeals, they tried to freeze Alex's bank account, they even contacted his future college, claiming they had a financial stake in his education. It was madness, pure unfiltered madness. Then came the final hearing. The judge had had enough. "I don't know what your goal is here," he said, looking directly at my parents, "but this lawsuit is an abuse of the court system. I'm dismissing your case with prejudice." The courtroom exploded. My mother wailed like someone had died. My father slammed his fists on the table. My brother just shrunk into a seat like he wanted to disappear. Dan grabbed my hand under the table. We had won, but it wasn't over. Because after the hearing, my mother went nuclear. The public meltdown. We were walking to our car when she ran after us. "You think this is over?" she shrieked. "You think you can humiliate us like this and just walk away?" Dan said, "Yep, that's exactly what we think." She turned to me, eyes burning. "You're a disgrace. You always have been. We raised you, and this is how you repay us?" Something inside me snapped. I turned to face her fully, my voice eerily calm. "You didn't raise me, you tolerated me. You only cared about me when I was useful, when I followed your rules. The second I made my own choices, you turned on me." She laughed, but it was hysterical, bitter. "Oh, don't be dramatic." I stepped closer. "You recorded me without my consent. You tried to steal from your own grandson, and when that failed, you tried to claim his future earnings." People were staring, whispers spread. My father's face was red with rage. Then I said the words that changed everything. I hope you know that Alex will never speak to you again. Her breath hitched. My father flinched. Even my brother's eyes widened. No, she whispered. He wouldn't. I turned to Alex, who had been silent this whole time. Alex, do you ever want to see them again? He didn't even hesitate. No. My mother staggered back like he had slapped her. My father pointed a shaking finger at me. You turned him against us. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. No, you did that all by yourselves. My mother started crying, full body, ugly sobs. My father looked defeated for the first time in his life. My brother just stood there, silent. I met his eyes. Good luck dealing with them. Then we walked away, and just like that, it was over. Aftermath. We blocked them, all of them. They tried to reach out, emails, calls, letters, but we ignored them. They begged, then they threatened, then they pretended nothing happened. But it was too late. Months passed. Alex started college, free from their nonsense. We celebrated, just the three of us. It felt lighter, like we could finally breathe. And then one day, I got a message from my brother. They're selling the house, moving out of state. Thought you'd want to know. I stared at the text for a long time. Dan walked in, saw my face. You okay? I exhaled slowly. Yeah, I think so. Because for the first time in my life, I felt free, really truly free, and I wasn't looking back.